did at Princeton. When the racial IQ folk came in, black people less intelligent, we will show up, protest on the outside and on the inside, expose the intellectual dishonesty, the indifference, and the same would be true for those who try to rationalize genocide, rationalize mass incarceration, rationalize patriarchy, rationalize transphobia, or whatever form of evil it is. You have to have a robust public conversation about it.
That was brilliant. I want to add one really important point, which is that freedom of speech is, and this was implicit in Brother West's eloquent preaching, that freedom of speech is not only the right of the speaker to convey information and ideas, it's the right of the audience members to hear and to engage. And the first time that really important concept was articulated in this country, it was by that brilliant constitutional philosopher, Frederick Douglass. He was shut down when he was trying to give a pro-abolition speech in Boston, and many of my students are shocked, but Boston? Yeah, even the liberal Northeast considered abolitionist speech to be dangerous and subversive and seditious. So the thugs shut down his speech. He gave the speech later in another venue, and what is powerful, eloquent pan to the powers of free speech. And among other points, he said, when you shut down somebody from speaking, it is a double wrong. Not only robbing the speaker of the opportunity to tell us who he is. My goodness, if somebody's a war criminal and supports it and is running for office or is in office, don't we want to know that? But it also robs us of the opportunity to hear it and the opportunity to question it. So to your concrete, specific question, Norman, I would say, it all depends. If somebody, a war criminal, is invited to get an honorary degree and to be fawned over about how wonderful he or she is, I would say no, the university should not do that. But if the person is invited to an open forum where maybe there's somebody else debating him, but certainly where every audience member is free to ask tough questions and to make counter arguments, that can have to me, that is respecting the dead rather than desecrating them.
I don't want to prolong this. I will simply register, not an emphatic no, but I will register the conviction or belief that I don't believe those responses engaged fully with the question. And I don't. If you take a concrete example, so Germany after World War II, aside from some very high-level prosecutions, most people got off. You were a concentration camp guard, probably after the war. Maybe became a student in college. You got a lot of blood on your hands. Now, a student group decides to invite this concentration camp guard who has a lot of blood in his or her hands and decides, let's hear the German side of Auschwitz. Let's hear in part of that postmodern cancel culture garbage, talked about there's no such thing as truth, there are only narratives. There are only narratives. So you invite this person to give the concentration camp guards narrative on Auschwitz. And then sitting in the audience is somebody whose family was tossed into a gas chamber and then was incinerated. I find it a moral abomination. You can talk freedom of speech all you want, but in that, and I'm telling you, I consider it a separate category. If you don't have blood in your hands, you can say anything. And anybody who's been a student of mine knows in my class, I am going to be very forceful about defending everybody's right to have their say. But this is a very distinct category. Now, Cornel is correct. It means a lot of people. It does. Because where do most of these presiders over murder, where do they end up? They end up teaching at Harvard, they end up teaching at the Kennedy School, they end up at Stanford. That's where they end up. I recognize that. It's a large number of people. And I still emphatically believe that's a desecration of the dead. And one has to be mindful of that when defending the right of speech. Now, the argument with the burning of the American flag was those who voted in the Supreme Court that it was a right. They say it's the best defense of our country if we let them burn the flag. That shows our confidence in our country. That's a fine argument. The problem is, a flag is an inanimate object. It's an inanimate object. When people have been murdered, incinerated, gassed,